Cancer. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to PBN. I'm Connor Grant, and you're watching Meet the Press. We also have a special version of this show, Meet the Candidates, where I'm just going to introduce everybody out of the. We're just going to start from the presidential race. We have former Senator Nathan Brown, former President Jackson Hitchcock, Secretary of State Ivor M., Senator Jas Kander, Vice President Sanders, and Representative Taft. I am also joined with Representative Ebdeli, and we're just going to start with opening statements. Nathan?
Well, good evening. Thank you for having me here, all of you. It's great to be here with this little discussion with the opposing candidate, Mr. Hitchcock, of whom I wish the best of luck this upcoming election. And I hope after this election, we can all get along and unite for the betterment of this country, because that is why I believe we are both running to make this country a better one for all of us. So I came to this, little forum after the other one got sabotaged by one of our good friends, Mr. Dave Shiner. So, this is take two. So I guess we're going to be, starting and having the little discussion right here. But I, just hope to discuss policy and move on and make this country a better one. So thank you again for having me.
All right, we're moving on to Jackson.
We're not opposing candidates. We're both working towards this goal, and we're sort of allies and opposites. When I'm president, I hope to have a chat with you. So let's get it started, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here today to tell you why I should be the next president. Where I come from, we call this a 1-minute pitch. I'm going to use this minute to explain a few things: why I should be president, why I'm the best candidate for the presidency, and what I'm going to do as president. We'll start from the top on why I should be president. And that's because I bring a mix of experience and a special outsider quality that we're all so missing in Washington. The next question is why I'm the best candidate for president. And the answer remains the same, in that I have experience with an outside factor that Washington has been missing these last few years. Finally, what am I going to do? I'm going to bring climate legislation, because we need to think about being the administration that affects the next 40 years and not just the next 4 that we're elected to. Continue supporting democracies and free trade across the world, and continue creating American jobs with my green jobs plan that will create 20 million new jobs over the next 40 years. And these are permanent jobs, not low-wage retail or food service jobs. I'm Jackson Hitchcock, and I'm going to meet your next president.
Oh, wasn't that nice? We're going to go over to Secretary of State, actually. Ivor M. Yeah.
Hi, hello. So for clarification, we have 2 minutes for opening statements, responses?
3.
3. Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm going to be short, which is not so typical for me, but trying to be short. Let me correct myself. So thank you, everyone, for coming here, attending this great event that's dedicated to getting to know the issues, the candidates' stances, and candidates themselves better, so the voters can make a better and a stronger decision on who is the right choice for this country to be in the White House, in Naval Observatory as Vice President, and in the United States Senate. Upcoming weekend, all of us will be given a choice, and today we stand here pretty much because of that. We basically have 5 races, 1 presidential and 4 Senate ones, and I'm hoping that voters will be able to make up their mind by the election day. I'm certainly hoping that in my race that will be the case. Although I'm unopposed, I came here with goodwill and good intention to discuss anything regarding the issues, anything regarding anything, actually anything, because I want to be fully transparent and fully honest with the people, with the public, with the electorate, as I always were, and as I want to continue to be. This election is yet another highly contested one, at least in some races. I'm lucky that my race isn't that contested, but I'm still campaigning because I believe that the people should see what do we candidates want to do if we get elected. And I hope we will have a civil, good, productive discussion. I served as representative of District 3. I was majority whip, majority leader, and Speaker of the House of Representatives. Later, I was elected to the United States Senate, where I served as Senate Majority Leader. Later, I became Secretary of State, then the Vice President, and now I'm again Secretary of State, running for the Senate to bring some new ideas and new solutions to issues on the table, and yet to continue the improvement in this country, because all of us need to advance together, as my slogan says, because that's what this country is about, going forward together after this elections, where the people decide who's going to lead us. Thank you.
Okay, we can move it over to Timmy Taft.
Well, thank you all for having us here today. I'm honored and delighted to be here on this forum to share ideas and to, really talk about what's best for the country. So, as most of you probably know, my name is Tim Taft. Many of you know me as that crazy anti-Fed libertarian guy, but as most of the old-timers here in Mick know, I'm actually the founding father of the mock election community. So, I'm technically the oldest affiliate of the mock election community in around today. To tell you a bit about my history in here at MEC, we have to go all the way back before the very first season of MEC, when I created the community with my alt, Jack Smith. I ran in the first 3 presidential elections and lost all 3. It took 3 of them for me to finally learn. During that time, there was a lot of conflict with the community, and that's when I handed the community over, because I believed it was better for the community if it went to someone else, although a lot of people disagreed with my decision. So I came back at the end of the year, because this was 2017 at the time, and I befriended Ethan Fitzgerald and served in his administration as chief of staff, where I helped him make policy decisions and work with Congress. During that time, I ran a successful campaign for the House of Representatives and got elected to the District 7 seat as a Libertarian, caucusing with the GOP. While in Congress, I both proposed and sponsored a number of bills ranging from border security and ranging from the Border Security and Immigration Act of 2017 to the Firearms Protection Act, which I worked on with my good friend Jasir Bess. However, I lost re-election and bowed out of politics for a while so that I could take some time to enjoy life. I came back later this year and was appointed to fill my old District 7 seat when my good friend Ethan Davis resigned from it when he got elected to the Senate. It turns out I got the better part of his term, and then I launched my campaign and won an election to a full term, which I am currently serving. Earlier this month, I announced my candidacy for District 3 Senate because I want to serve in a new capacity. I want to spread my core ideals to the Senate. I would genuinely like to be a part of the discussions there. My core most important policy is promotion of liberty. I lack trust in state intervention in the lives of American citizens, and I don't think it would be wrong to say that the same is true for the vast majority of Americans. What I want to do if elected is work to maximize personal and economic freedom. Freedom to make your own decisions insofar as your labor goes, freedom to keep your income, freedom to marry whom you want, freedom of private property, etc. So if I'm elected to the Senate, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected to the Senate, I think what I really want to bring to the table, what I want to do is mainly promote liberty. That's my core principle. Thank you for having me today.
All right. We're gonna move over to Robert.
Dude, T-Dog.
You don't want to go?
No, I want to go last.
Okay. T-Dog isn't here anymore. I don't think so. Robert T. Dog's not here.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll just read what I have then. All right. Thank you for having me. I'm Robert Sanders, of course, Vice President of the United States of America, and I'm running for Senate District 4. I'm running because I believe I am the candidate that will help move our district and our nation into the 21st century. We need to focus on our education system. We need to change the criminal justice system and end the war on drugs. We will help the opioid crisis plaguing our district and stop the rise of meth and other hard drugs. I served as your representative, and I am serving as your vice president currently. In my time in the House, I have brought jobs to our district, funded education programs, cleaned our water infrastructure, and proved to be one of the more influential members of the House. I know how the Senate works, and I'll be ready for the job on day one. I will never skip a confirmation hearing, and I will ask tough questions, making sure we are confirming people who are fully prepared for the position that they are nominated for. I will be the senator for change. I will be the senator for leadership. I will be the senator for you. And come election day, I hope I can earn your vote. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. So we're just gonna go around, and I guess we're gonna start from Nathan again. All right. My first question is my first question is are any of you worried about losing, or do you think you will pull off a victory, or do you think you're just gonna be really close?
Okay, so I believe that question was directed to me, of course, because you said my name, so that's why I'm going to make that presumption. Now, optimism really needs to be the campaign's fuel. Last season, I've lacked optimism, and that's something that I have been talking with people who have ran successful and unsuccessful campaigns for the presidency, one of whom I'm glad to have, uh, advise me and help me out in the campaign kickoff. President Evans, former President Evans, he's really helped me, believe it or not, despite endorsing my opponent last time. He did not endorse me this time, but I'm really glad to have him on my team this season, despite him not being in MeWe. But he said, you have to really be optimistic about this campaign. So, we're hoping for the best. I believe it's possible because, anything is possible. Speaker Hitchcock could be elected. And, I think it'll be a pretty close election, closer than many people think, because Speaker Hitchcock is a very formidable candidate, and I really appreciate his honor in this race. This is one of the cleaner races that I've had, and I really appreciate him for that. And so, I really believe that this is winnable. I believe that I will win in the end of the election. And should we not win, we will, God forbid, we will work with everybody to make this country a better place for everybody. Because everything that I say on this campaign, I plan on doing, just like with all my races. I plan on, keeping my promises. That's what I've done. That's the experience I brought in. If you want to call me establishment for keeping my promises and campaigning and providing what I campaign on, do it. But that's just called success, not establishment. So you can go ahead and say all that, and
Hi, I'm here now.
The actual, hello, Tom. We need the actual definition, and we need to look at the record when we, or each other's records when we vote at this election. So make sure you go back. Feel free to contact me, and yes, I will be releasing our plan, Joe and I's plan for the nation if we are elected. So I think you guys have heard that I'm not really scripted this time, and I just want to be genuine with you all. So you get my first response, and that's really, this is me. So thank you for that question, by the way.
If anyone has any questions for me, I'm available to answer. All right. Do you want to participate, Tom?
Yeah, I will. I'm running for Senate.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Senator Kirkman.
Thank you.
Wait, you're not going down, but second presidential candidate, Jackson. If you want me to repeat it, I could. If you want me to repeat the question.
Okay, so what was the question again?
All right. Is
Hello.
shh, okay. My question is, do you think you can pull off a victory in this election?
Of course, I think I can pull off a victory. It'll be a nail biter, though. And as a candidate and a great legislator, I think we have the momentum going into this election. I think we have both have great teams built around us. I think I would be the better president, though. But I think we need to focus on the issues. We're tired of times like in season 19 when it was two attack dogs fighting a bloody battle. When we focus on policy, the American people win. If we focus on personal attacks, then who wins really? No one. We really need to focus on being united because we face one of the greatest calamities to ever face humanity. It's not Krakatoa and it's not a supervolcano, but it is climate change and it's man-made. If we don't do something to combat it, then how are we supposed to tell our children 40 years down the road that when they ask, Mommy, why is the world ending? I'm not going to tell my child that it's because I couldn't pull up my big boy pants and work with the other side and make effective change to combat climate change and to combat the greatest calamity that our people have ever faced. That is
If
all.
I could put a word in there quickly, just a bit of a rebuttal, I guess. I mean, I appreciate the value and the sentiment. I completely agree. We've got to do something about climate change. But here in MEC, we've done a lot more than real life in climate change. We've passed so many climate change bills. We've passed a lot more regulations and all that. But what I want to know specifically is, you say it's time for policy, but you've come out here and you've said we need climate change. Wait, 1 second. You said we need to work on climate change and we need to do this because I don't want to have to tell my kids this and that. I agree and I respect that completely. But we want to talk about policy. So what exactly do you want to do that hasn't already been done in this community?
All right,
exact plans. That's what the American people want to hear. They don't want to hear rosy promises that aren't going to be fulfilled.
Okay, well, I don't want to hear something from a Brown surrogate that he could say himself if he'd like to. But I'm just going to say this. We need to get India, China,
Mr. Hitchcock,
and
I'm not asking that as a Brown surrogate. I'm asking it as a senator who...
That wasn't called for.
I'm asking that as a senator. I'm asking it as a senator who wants to work with whoever the president is to work on this issue. That's what I'm asking it. It's not as a Brown surrogate. So instead of focusing on these attacks, how about we actually focus on the issues that the American people care about, because I want to get this done.
Here.
So, what is your exact policy?
If you want to hear my exact policy, well, I'll direct you to this. My exact policy, we're going to get India, China, and the rest of the developed world onto our side. Secretary Mistrovich has helped with that. Now, we're going to do a 5-point plan. We're going to promote free trade, which will improve technology. We're going to promote democracy, which will help bring countries into the fold and get them closer allied to us, which will help us influence them. We're going to invest into Africa, which will help them develop away from coal. And we're going to invest into nuclear energy and renewable energy. We can use nuclear energy as a go-between very quickly before we go hard into renewables like wind, solar, and hydroelectric. We're going to continue our green energy loan program started by Vice President Bates, then Senator Bates, and we're going to make sure our cities expand their rooftop garden programs, which help give more fresh produce to our inner city children and inner city people in general. And we're going and promote more energy and efficient policies.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hitchcock.
This is the policy, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Hitchcock.
So, Tom said, what makes you different from all the other last candidates? Because I've heard people say that before.
Never heard you speak,
never really
Evideli.
felt like Jim Webb, but
Wait,
where's
no,
my
Tom,
damn time?
Ivor, we'll get to you.
Yes, we will.
Okay, what was the question?
I'll try to be short. when I
Thank
said
you,
I'll do this, I promised to myself I'll try to be short. So what I want to say, thank you, Mr. Hitchcock, for acknowledging some of my work. But the real thing about leading climate change, leading the fight against climate change, the changing climate we're having, isn't just in foreign policy. It's about the directives and the policies we implement here, because we need to make that kind of transition in usage of energy. And many people have talked about it. Many people have supported it. And there were some bills that were passed, as Senator Kirkman said. However, the point is that no major piece of legislation, no major campaign whatsoever did so far address that kind of thing, that kind of transition. Almost everyone talked about it, as they will do it or they support it, but that hasn't been done. I don't have any questions for any of the candidates. However, I would just like to acknowledge that that's something that we should be focusing on, together with the leadership across the world on this issue, not just on we have done this, we have done that, or we'll just go with our foreign leadership across the globe and getting China on board. Getting China on board would help a lot, but you'll hardly get China on board that easy. Anyways, that's it.
All right. Does anyone want to add something on before we continue?
I'd
I
add
will.
something.
Tim can go first. Go, Tim.
Were you
What?
agreeing with me on that we need to focus on the go-between? Were you agreeing with me, Ivor, focusing on that I was focusing on the go-between between our fossil fuel industry now and the renewable energy of the future?
What's the first part of the question?
Okay. Were you agreeing with me on my point that we should on the trend?
I'm agreeing with both Tom and
where we
you
already
in this,
been done.
with both Senator Kirkman and you, former speaker. What I'm saying is we don't just need some. We did some stuff. We should do more on foreign affairs, and we should do more on domestic affairs. There are still a lot of things that can be done regarding this issue, as this is a more complex issue, and people don't tend to make tons of bills regarding this. However, there were bills, and there are many good records and many good bills that were made and passed into law regarding this. Many good foreign actions that our foreign affairs actions that improved the fight against this. I'm agreeing with both of you, and I'm saying we need both the record. We need the record, the leadership in other foreign countries in the world, actually, and of course advancing our domestic policy, because we know that we won't have coal, we won't have oil, we won't have gas forever, but we'll have sun for a lot more years, and we'll have oil, gas, and coal all together.
Okay. We seriously need to move on. All right, Ivor, you have to answer the question.
Wait, can I?
Oh no.
I didn't get to add anything. I was going to.
All right.
Yeah.
Tim, let Tim go first.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
So-
let Nathan and Tim go before we move on.
Thank you. So I think climate change is a crucial issue. Man-made climate change is a crucial issue, and it's something that needs to be addressed. It has been addressed, in many different ways by people in mock election, but there's always more to do. So my policy, mainly that is, first we need to stop subsidizing climate change itself through our foreign policy. As many people point out, like Ron Paul, about the military-industrial complex and how we subsidize climate change when we go to war over oil in other countries. So I would promote a non-interventionist policy that doesn't have us warring over oil. And I would also like to promote an economy that is friendly to nuclear energy. France runs 75% of their grid on nuclear energy, which is low carbon emissions and very cheap to operate. They have the number one they're the number one net exporter of electricity in the world. The United States only has 20% of its grid powered by nuclear energy. So I would like to make a transition to nuclear energy, as it's low emission and it would significantly reduce our emissions. And so that's would be my first things I would do.
All right, Nathan, hurry up.
All right, thank you very much. Now, in the short little amount of time that I have, I just want to let my opinion be voiced. We're talking about foreign affairs and bringing other countries into this, but there has been things that even I've addressed in my bill on climate change that I brought up while I was in the Senate. And by the way, I'd like to add, I'm the only candidate with Senate experience who's running for president who has made such a bill on climate change. So I just want to say that I have done something on this, and I plan on doing this because I said it in both my rallies in Kentucky and West Virginia. You can go check those rallies out, even right now. But I think we can focus on the issues as well right here in America. Now we can implement these things here in America, but I think that we can we should also talk about, the failing school systems, the literally crumbling schools, the inner city schools I heard Speaker Hitchcock bring up the inner cities and making them eat healthy. Yes, we should make them eat healthy. And, well, I know we have our libertarian candidate here, so I'm going to respect him. Yes, we should give them the option to eat healthily. But we should, rebuild their schools and give them state-of-the-art technology. That's what I've been campaigning on. I've been campaigning on all of the issues that have been, in this country's list of the country's very long list of problems. And I will, on day one, start working to address them.
I asked not.
I mean,
I
can't we all
asked not to
agree?
interrupt.
Can't we all just agree that talk is very cheap, but action
Action
is
is what
simply
counts, and I've taken up
essential
action.
if we are to overcome the challenges, the issues.
One thing that I'm very proud of
Yes,
and
so I've
Mick is
taken
that
up action.
unlike real life, we have the entire Congress is committed to dealing with the issue of climate change. We're committed to dealing with these issues. We don't deny it, unlike our current president in real life.
Mike Pence too.
We actually all believe in it. We all agree that something needs to be done, and I think instead of arguing over that fact, we need to use it as a bounding agreement and a bounding policy settlement, so that we can all work together to actually get something done. That's what's important, not this cheap talk that I've always been mentioning.
All right, Nathan, do you want to finish, or can we move on?
Basically, to summarize it up, we need to teach green energy in schools, in the very schools that we fix up, the same schools that I plan on fixing first. And I'm going to be, focusing on education reform. We have our plan that will be released in our platform later on. I'm not going to spoil it on air, but I think this department will be beneficial in, rebuilding our schools, especially our
education reform has been done over and over again. Don't we need new ideas? Senator Kirkman and saying that that are different, and I ask you that same question.
Okay, let me finish on one thing before I go there. And you say bring up new ideas. Now, you'll see the new ideas when I release it on this platform. I'm very tempted to release it, but there are very new ideas that will rebuild our schools, not only our suburban schools, our inner city and our rural schools that have been left, that have been treated like second-class citizens. The people who may not look like everybody on the stage, they may look like me. Go to those schools. And I'm not playing identity politics right now, but I'm just saying that they have been given the hand. Let me finish.
Jackson, don't interrupt.
Please let me finish. They have been given supplies that have been used. They have been given hand-me-down supplies since the days of segregation. And I really want to fix that once and for all and make every school in this country equal, because this is America in the 21st century and we deserve a world-class education. And I am willing to do something about that.
All right.
Excuse
No,
me.
wait.
Excuse
We're gonna
me.
move.
I think I will concur
We're
with
gonna
what
move
has been
on.
said, but I
I
think
have
that
a
we should
question
go
for-
on. Like, seriously, we're giving them a tough time. It's their first time.
Can we move on?
By the way, thank you again.
Or can we move on now? All right. Now, Ivor, question 2.
Can I ask this question, please?
Wait. No. We could say that for after. Okay, we got to move on. Ivor, this. Well, we didn't get to finish this question, so I'm just gonna ask you. In the next couple of days, do you think the election will be going your way on election day?
Can we get some policy questions? It seems like all these are.
Yes, I was going to
politic
ask
Yeah,
one.
it's
I was
more
going
of
to
like
ask one.
talking the talk and walking the walk. But
We all know
I'm
Evil's going to win.
unopposed
He's
so
running
far,
without an
so-
opponent. So let's
Okay.
move on to the real question.
I have a policy
Exactly.
question right now
Ask it.
for Ivor. No, this is for the presidential candidates. Sorry. This is on disaster response. What specifically would you do to ensure that America is able to respond quickly and effectively to people in other parts of the world suffering from war and/or natural disasters? And this is to Mr. Hitchcock.
What was the question? I didn't hear you because you were cutting out.
What specifically would you do to ensure that America is able to respond quickly and effectively to people in other parts of the world suffering from war and/or natural disasters? You have 2 minutes.
Okay, well, the first thing is, if they're suffering from war, we're gonna have to go through all our economic and diplomatic options before we get involved. We don't want another Iraq or another Afghanistan. We need to make sure that all the options that we can use to get it done peacefully are used before we put boots on the ground. Many of you don't know this, but, well, many of you obviously know this, but our nation's military spends as much as the next 10 combined. So my plan is to have a carrier
I don't know if that's true,
stationed
Mick.
near most of the world's what you would all call hotspots. They would be within 72 hours of any of most of the world. So the plan would be a natural disaster would occur. We would mobilize a carrier group, which is aircraft carrier and smaller ships, destroyers, light cruisers, etc. And we would mobilize one of those, and we would send it to the conflict area, where we would be able to administer aid if it was a natural disaster, and help with recovery and cleanup efforts, or B, well, A, with the permission of the host government, of course, or B, it would be able to quickly respond to any threat to U.S. assets on the ground in that nation with airstrikes and Marines. That is all.
All right. Can I just jump in here?
Wait, can I
Let
respond to the question?
Nathan answer the question. Yeah.
Okay, so the question was on disaster relief. So, and helping out with cleanup around the world. Now, I want to focus the attention back on America because I am running to be president of the United States of America. So, I just want to shine the light on something that happened many years ago, Hurricane Katrina. That took nearly 3 years to rebuild. Like, after Hurricane Katrina.
And it's still not okay. They're still rebuilding.
Yes, they're still rebuilding after Hurricane Katrina. Something that happened 2 presidents ago who served 8 years in office. Now, so I just wanted to bring that up. So we need to focus on rebuilding our country after it's hit by natural disasters immediately, with as much help as they can. We've seen after Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, everybody, neighbors helping neighbors, brothers helping brothers. That is the American spirit that I see when I pull up that television, and I see people giving their neighbors a key to the boat and the truck to go help each other. And that is what I call American values. Now, on our foreign side, I will be the first president, and my Secretary of State and we will be the first to visit our brothers in Africa. I will go there and try and work with the nations, nations to help rebuild their government after we have our own, not their government, their country after natural disasters and wars. And by the way, I hear some talk about mobilized and warships and airstrikes and all that stuff. And I'm just going to say that we need to go over there instead of with arms in our hands. We need to go there with other humans' hands in our own hands, locking arms as
Well,
humans,
Senator, you
as
clearly didn't
brothers,
understand what I was saying.
rebuttal?
So I'll use.
Can I rebuttal?
I really didn't ask you.
No.
Yes, you may.
Please.
Can you
finish first? I want to hear the rest of the
We're not
statement.
going to respect each other's time.
Listen. I asked for everyone not to interrupt someone that's speaking.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And it's always when I'm about to end, too. So we come together and work with the United Nations and make sure, by the way, that they're contributing their fair share in funding and their troops. So we should come together with the United Nations to help rebuild war-torn areas after we have our country, figured out and all solved again. Go ahead and interrupt because I'm finished.
All right, who wants to go next?
I would like to just rebuttal.
All right, Ivor.
Well, we're just talking about disasters. I don't get just why are we just talking about Africa, or why are we talking about warships and mobilizing our military if there are many other ways? There are other also very efficient ways to help them, not just to waste our military. And in fact, I believe someone of the two said that we will be the first one to go in Africa, which isn't true because as Secretary of State, I went to Africa. In fact, last weekend I was in...
Yes, I'll be the first president. Sorry.
Africa. Yeah, that would be the first president. The vice president, Griffin Bates, was in Africa. But yeah, the first president would be. Anyways, what I want to say is that there are many other ways how we could improve them. For example, you have many programs, humanitarian programs that are dedicated to helping and innovating people's lives, not just through financial funds or through health, some sort of health benefits, but programs such as the programs, for example, that just give people goats in countries like Uganda, because goat there to them will mean a lot more than financial funds, because with goat, goat is just one example, but there are also those kind of unconventional yet extremely effective ways of organizations and institutions dedicated to helping those people in need. If we're talking about rebuilding things, then I think that probably the presidential candidates are informed about the situation in Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo. The United Nations and the United States interest in interventions has been considered there as something not so good, something bad, something negative, and they're calling upon us to go out as soon as possible, which again kind of concurs with both of those statements. I believe we should help, but again, you have nations that will always try to refuse. So it's all about it's all about diplomacy. At the end, it's all about diplomacy, or as Churchill says, diplomacy is the art to tell someone to go to hell, and then they ask you for directions. Thank you.
All right, would anyone like to add on to that?
Yeah, I would. All right, I'd actually like to, despite my support for Mr. Brown, I'd actually like to come to the defense of Mr. Hitchcock here. I think everyone's taking his words out of context. He did not say, when he said warships, what he said, he said warships ready to give aid to these countries. He did not imply that he wanted to come in there with troops bearing guns, ready and guns blazing, shooting everyone. what he said was he wanted to have warships stationed there so that he could provide aid. So there would be aid and food and medical supplies on the warships. That was his statement. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
Not to waste warships.
So just wanted to defend him there. And I think that's fine. I also agree with Mr. Brown on many of his issues. But yeah, I concur with most people. I just wanted to say that about Mr. Hitchcock's statement.
Let me just say that I don't think it's appropriate that Jackson is sending his surrogates out here to come attack. I'm just joking with you, Tom. I'm just joking.
Hey,
But,
that's my line. I'll sue you.
I can make it a truth if you want me to, Nathan.
Yeah.
I will sue you for copyright infringement. You don't think I got that
I can make
patented?
that
No, just go to the European Union. You can even ban the memes.
Can I add something? Can I talk about this? No?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Time for a
so
libertarian view.
well, you want to pose the question just one more time so it's a little more fresh in our
There's
mind?
my attack dog surrogate.
You're the one
There
that
we
asked
go.
the question.
I don't know. Maybe he dropped out.
Tim,
Okay.
you're the one that asked the question.
Ask what question?
Uh,
I wanted to answer the question that everybody else was answering.
you're the one that asked.
No, I
everyone
didn't.
the
I didn't ask that question. I
Yeah,
didn't
you
ask
did. Yeah, you did.
No, I
You
didn't.
started. Yeah, you asked Nathan.
I didn't ask about the disaster relief or the disaster
Well,
relief.
well, that's not the question that you originally
Well, that's
asked.
what I-
but that's what it turned into.
I wanted to answer that question though. Somebody else asked that question.
Well, I didn't ask that.
Yeah, somebody.
well,
This is literally becoming yes and no.
Okay, so who asked the question about
It's basically climate change and
Oh, not back here.
Was climate change made by?
No, he was already.
Climate
answering
change is a
the-
hoax,
the-
and we all know
he
it.
answered
Climate
that
change is a
question.
hoax.
All right. All right. We're just
Wind
gonna move on.
turbines cause
We're gonna-
cancer.
We're just gonna move on.
Okay, all right.
No, he said
I'm
windmills.
gonna answer as best
He
I
said
can right now.
windmills.
I'm going to
Sorry,
answer-
windmills cause cancer.
All right, I'm just gonna answer as best
Cancer
I can.
causes cancer.
Can I speak?
No television tonight.
No, stop.
Windmills
Let him
cause
speak.
Darling.
epilepsy,
No.
so you can't have them.
Is the wind blowing? I watch the television.
Windmills cause epilepsy, so you can't have.
All right, children, can I speak?
Go, Tim.
Thank you. All right, so as far as aiding in disaster relief and all that stuff, I think the best thing we can do at first is stop causing disasters. We go, like I already mentioned earlier, we go to war over oil. We spend billions of dollars going to war over oil that subsidizes climate change. I would say the best thing we can do is stop going to war over in the Middle East and in Iraq and stop destabilizing territories. Back in 1953, our own Central Intelligence Agency aided in getting rid of an elected leader in Iraq, and that radicalized much of that region. So I'd say, and one of the best things we can do is stop trying to police the world and stop subsidizing climate change.
Yep.
Here.
Let me just say we're out of Yemen in Mac, so.
All right. Anyone?
But there are other examples, though.
Exactly,
Many
I'm
other
just
examples.
saying Yemen is
Oil
just one of
prices
the
would be
examples.
really
so-
high in Mac if this was real life. Like oil prices would be up.
An example could be the Strait of Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz thing that I did during my presidency, but that's a bit different.
If
Yeah,
the
but
United
that
States
was
invaded
with
the
Iran,
Middle East
and
took
they
control of it,
and them trying to scare
our
us.
oil prices could
Like-
go down.
Yeah, Iran should be nuked, and we all know it.
Oil?
Okay.
Well, it's going to
Senate
happen.
Majority
soon,
Leader just
so.
said, okay,
It's a joke.
good.
I think nothing on this is getting serious at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is becoming too SNL-ish. Like, let's
I
go
mean, we have
into
a
more
little
policy.
Can we get to the questions now?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So, my question goes to Mr. Hitchcock, and my question is, so, in my firm belief, as a former president and as a vice president, a vice presidential candidate, it's my firm belief that if you want to run for president, you should have a team set up of talented individuals who are going to help you direct your policy initiatives and all that. And at the head of that should be the running mate you pick. and I believe that it highlights your decision-making ability and shows how you're going to act as president in terms of who you pick as your running mate. So my question is, why are you not going to pick a running mate for the upcoming election?
Because I think it will help my relationship with Congress if I pick someone that, and it will help my relationship with a lot of people if I pick someone that I may not agree with everything. I know Nathan didn't pick someone he agreed with everything on, but I want my running mate to be someone that I can actually trust and I can believe in because I know they'll disagree with me and I know they'll tell me when I'm wrong. If I would just pick this man as my running mate, I could have. Then what's the point of me being president if I don't have any debate within my administration?
Well, respectfully, Mr. Hitchcock. Respectfully, if you don't want to pick a yes man, then don't pick a yes. Sorry.
But I want a vice president that, like Mr. Kander, if the Senate would choose him to be my vice president, I want a vice president that encompasses all of America. Because the Brown supporters are going to make up 46 or something amount of people in the United States. That's just a number I picked. Out of people in the United States, someone representative. I'm not representing a presidential candidate, Republican presidential candidate, independent. I'm running as the candidate for all of America, not just the ones that vote for me.
Mr. Hitchcock, with all due respect, you said you don't want to pick a yes man as your running mate. Well, then the simple fix to that is I'll just say this. I know. The simple fix to that is don't. You have the ability to pick your running mate, so you can pick anyone you want. If you don't want to pick a yes man, then pick someone who you think is going to challenge you, who you think is going to call you out when you are wrong. That's important. Now, I was very lucky to have a talented and experienced vice president who would tell me when I was wrong. Ryan Service always told me when I was making a mistake, and I can tell you, without that advice, I don't think I would have been able to. I don't think I would have been able to do a lot of things that I did regarding the events. So if you don't want to have a yes man as your vice president, then don't pick a yes man as your vice president. You have the ability to choose who your running mate is. Now, I can understand the argument about there'll be Brown supporters across the country, but while that's true, your job as a candidate is to go out there and present your ideas and your team and why you are going to be best for the nation. And the American people have the right to vote on not only the candidate, they have the right to vote on the ticket, because when they consider who they're voting for, a lot of the time a vice presidential candidate does come up, because in the unfortunate circumstance and the dire circumstance that something does happen to the president, they are going to have to fill their shoes. And you, as a candidate who is vying for the office, should have the ability to pick someone who you think will uphold your legacy and do the country good. That should be your biggest decision when running as a candidate. I know that as a former president and a presidential candidate, and as a vice presidential candidate. It's important. I believe the American people deserve the insight and the knowledge to be able to pick accurately in that regard.
Can I answer as a presidential candidate, please?
Go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, I am going to make this, I'm just going to put this up in the air. I'm extremely proud to have an active team this season, and especially proud to have the support of not one, but two of Mr. Hitchcock's former vice presidents. No shade. I respect Mr. Hitchcock. I've known him, and we've gone back a while. But I know that they've looked at the issues and realized what issues matter to average Americans, like criminal justice reform, like education reform, that issues that will affect their children directly and their future. Because right now, parents want everybody, no matter where you are in this country or in the world, you want your children to be better off or where you from where you were left from where you left this earth. So it's our responsibility to work as a team to make sure that we're in a better country than we were when we inherited it. And I know Mr. Hitchcock brought up working with Congress, but the vice president does work with Congress. So I've selected my own vice president, and I believe that his congressional experience both of our congressional experience will allow us both to easily work with Congress. We know everybody. We've worked with everybody in our careers. So, I really wanted to just bring that up. That we have a team, and we need a team to vote for, as Senator Kirkman said, to lead this nation, because we need two people who think will work together perfectly, and that is why I chose Senator Kander.
I'm not on Team Brown. I'm not on Team Hitchcock. I'm on Team America. It's as simple as that. I'm not working for them or you or some guy in Tallahassee.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hitchcock, but that sounds very pandery. It sounds.
I'm working for 330 million Americans. I'm sorry if you don't.
Well.
I'm sorry if you don't want to let me finish speaking. But I can understand how you can be a little scared of outside
ideas. Saying the same thing over and over again. But
yeah, like we're going over and over again with talk and no.
Alright,
look, I just from my perspective, I see it as you are. This is a debate, so we're allowed to.
It's not a debate.
Well, it's a discussion. You said, so we're allowed. It's a discussion, so we're allowed to have conversation, I think, between the candidates. I hope we are. I just wanted to ask him. It seems that you are pandering because you can't decide between a vice presidential candidate. You can't maintain one, so you're scared that if you chose a third one, he might drop from your ticket. And I just want to clarify that. I'm not accusing you of that. I just want to clarify that because some people see it that way.
All right, Jackson, you can finish if you want.
Well, I'm not sure you really know what pandering means, because you're accusing me of appealing to a group by acting a different way.
I just that was the first word that came to my mind. But I think most people get what I'm trying to say. It seems that you can't decide between a vice president, and if you're scared that if you chose a third one, he or she might drop from your ticket again. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm not scared of losing this election.
I'm not accusing you of that. I just want to clarify that because
if I lose this election,
I can just jump in here. I just want to say, I don't think Mr. Hitchcock is pandering to any specific group or anything like that. But
again, didn't mean to use that exact word.
Regardless, in my opinion, in fact, in most people's opinion, when the American people vote on the president, by extension, they're also voting on the vice president. They are not. It might be the president's name on the ballot, but they also, by extension, their vote also chooses who the vice president will be. So, I think what Mr. Hitchcock is doing is actually depriving the American people of an ability to actually pick their own vice president, and instead putting the choice of the vice president into the hands of senators. And while I think I have complete trust in my colleagues in the Senate, I don't think it should be our responsibility to do that. I think we should give the American people the chance to actually pick. That is what I believe. And I think you're depriving them of that right.
Mm-hmm. Let me just add it technically. Technically, the electors would need to choose. If they don't,
we don't have electors in
the
so
Senate votes.
We don't have electors in
Oh yeah, exactly. The Senate. But anyways, why are we talking about just this? Why aren't we talking about policy?
With all due respect, like, you were interrupting Mr. Hitchcock while he was trying to give his response. So I know that's why we're kind of sidetracked. So I really want to hear Mr. Hitchcock's response, as does the rest of the country. And also, live from New York, it's Saturday night. It really is.
All right. Let's get back on track, okay?
Please.
That's a good slogan.
Any more questions from anyone?
Well, I just wanted to see if Mr. Hitchcock had anything else, because I know he was talking when he was interrupted. So.
All right,
no,
Jackson.
I'm fine. Thank you, Nathan.
Okay, no problem.
I have something. All right, I guess Tom's the question person. How was your day Oh God. How was it?
It was.
Just wanna-
Who's that director?
Aren't we supposed to like
Everyone.
talk policy?
It was good.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
wanted to talk policy, but they're not doing it. So
All right. Okay. Let's go to policy then. My
Well, ask
question is.
questions.
I am.
Yeah.
My question to everyone is. So question to everyone is: what is your personal opinion on the policy of affirmative action, which has recently been repealed in MEC? And let's start off with.
wait, no, before you
not.
begin,
Yeah.
wait, save your comments for after everyone answers.
Yeah, and let's not start with Evo because he'll take 10 minutes to speak. So let's go to how about Joseph, the VP? Go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Affirmative action.
What's your opinion on affirmative action?
I don't care for it. I think from and last I checked, it prioritizes certain races over others, and basically it will demean the work. So let's say I'm not trying to sound racist, but let's say an Asian person, they work a lot, right, and they're trying to get into a college, but then their grades are then like or then said to be, oh well, this person of a different race, African American, let's say, scored like straight C's, and the Asians still scored straight A's. And to my understanding, sometimes they can be leveled out and to make it to where others can get into college easier. But I see it as it's unfair and it's kind of racist, and yeah, I don't care for it.
May I go ahead and
Yeah, go on.
respond? Thank you very much, Tom. That is one of the questions that I've been looking for. Now, as a person of color that is going to be going and getting my higher education in a few years, this time will come very soon, and I just can't believe it. But I know that in the real world, I, as a black man, a young African American man, will benefit from affirmative action. But as somebody with honor and somebody who likes to be fair, I cannot support such a thing. It, as Joseph said, it prioritizes one race over another, which isn't fair. We should be working, or we should judge people, as Dr. King said, on by the content of their character, and in this scenario, by the quality of their work, by how hard they work. Because, this is America, and everybody has been taught, even our uh, non American friends, that correct me if I'm wrong, but if you work hard in life, you will get by. So I believe that we have to prioritize, instead of one race, we need to prioritize a work ethic, a very hard work ethic that where you, as long as you can work hard and prove to everybody that you're most qualified to get into the university or college that you're applying to, for instance, that you're the best candidate, the best student, and you should get your education there. So many people, I read the story a few years ago about this Asian fellow who had to dress up as a black person just to get into college, and that isn't right. Number one, he's doing blackface, of course, and number two, he was not Oriental. He was Indian. He was South Asian. So that's how he was able to get by 4 years in his college. You can even search it up. Um, but I don't think it's right that people have to fake their identities just to get the education that they've worked so hard for. So I'm sorry that I went on this little ramble for the past 2-3 minutes, but this is an issue that's very important to me because, well, in closing, Dr. King fought for equality, not for the black race to be prioritized or, given
Malcolm X.
reparations, given to be given, reparations and just be apologized to for something that I didn't experience, but my ancestors experienced. Because I honestly will accept the apology and all, but you don't apologize to me in words. You apologize, if at all, if you want to, by saying, well, by improving your act, by um, not focusing on somebody's race and the stereotypes that go along with it, but by focusing on their character. Because yes, stereotypes exist, but again, don't get me wrong, we have to solve the issue of racism in this country by talking about it. That is the only way to come across fixing this massive racial division in this country. So, in closing, I do not support affirmative action. Um, Thank you for that very important question, Tom. I was looking
If
forward to something about that. I don't know how long I took, but I'm going to
Okay,
yield
can I
to
go now?
the
if I
candidates.
may,
Oh, Evil's gonna take 10 minutes.
I won't. So
You thought I
for
was bad?
everyone, so I'll try. So we need to learn from our past. We need to respect our history as it is. We need to have correct historical facts. But as Senator Kirkman repeatedly said during the debate time on this bill, he said that two wrongs don't make a right. Wrong in history and wrong in present doesn't make a right in the future. We need to build a better tomorrow today,
Yep.
learning from our past and working in this present on actual changes and improvements for the American people. And that means for the American people from the babies to until their death, until our seniors, until our
From the beast.
and I want and academics is all about grades, your knowledge, and how do you perform regarding that, not about who you are, where do you come from, because it's simply biased, it's simply racist to support one group over another just because of something. The reason isn't even important because you lose all the fairness and equality when you treat an academic someone differently because of their race. That's complete BS. It's like saying that Tom can't or shouldn't be here in Mac. I shouldn't be here in Mac on an online government simulation because we're not from the United States of America in real life. We all contributed to Mac a lot more than many other Americans in Mac. And that's just another example of how the same concept applies, for example, to Mac and how it makes literally no sense. So I don't support it. I believe that if there is an issue, that it should be solved, but making it a bigger issue out of a potential issue is not solving the problem. Thank you.
All right, so can I go next? Well, I will anyway. All right, so first of all, I want to recognize that there actually are still injustices against the African American community across the entire country, and I don't support that. I think that, like has been stated by Nathan and Ivor, that's all I heard. I don't know if anyone else spoke either prior. I was busy with something, but I agree with this sentiment, and I don't support affirmative action, as I'm sure you all know, as I was one of the, and I, as Mr. Fitzgerald and I authored the bill that passed and removed the affirmative action policy within the government. Now, to continue on, as I said in the deliberation regarding the bill, two wrongs don't make a right, and the fact is that African Americans have been, and in some ways still are, treated unjustly and unjustly. But just because of that does not mean that we need to replicate this action in a different manner. Because at the end of the day, one injustice should not make its way for another one. That's simply the way it should work. Now, I know an argument brought up by many people is the fact that the reason we have affirmative action is not because we want to help black people themselves. It's simply because the fact of the matter is that it's harder for a lot of people a lot of people, a lot of African American people actually get ahead and actually do well academically because of their socioeconomic and economic standings in the country. I understand that it's harder to get ahead and harder to actually get educated if you are below, if you are in poverty. I'm not denying that, but the solution to that is not to create an unjust policy that disproportionately affects others. The solution is to tackle that at its core, poverty at its core, not at creating an injustice, not at creating an injustice in school selection system. So instead of replacing one wrong with another, we need to tackle the problem at its core. We need to do everything we can to make sure that we can give every single American, regardless of race, sexuality, creed, opinion, desire, whatever, regardless of anything that they stand for, we need to treat them equally, and we need to give them every opportunity and the best opportunity to get ahead in life. And that is why I proudly voted for and proudly helped author the Affirmative Action Removal Bill. Thank you.
May I add one
Can I
thing?
go now? Can I go?
No,
I
please, go ahead.
Libertarian view.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Let
Thank
Tim
you. Okay. So I don't support affirmative action. Big surprise to all of you guys, but I would say that if I ever do,
For different reasons.
I generally don't support government subsidization of education in general. That said, if we are to have government subsidization of education, I would rather it be, if we're going to have some sort of affirmative action, I would rather it not be on a race basis, but on an impoverished basis. That said, the U.S. government spends more than $150 billion a year helping students pay for college in the form of subsidies, loans, and all that stuff. And what we've seen with what we've done with college, we've subsidized colleges, and the cost of tuition has gone way up. So I'm not a big fan of government subsidization of college, and I would prefer that the U.S. government stick to the Constitution, or at least amend the Constitution to allow for things like the Department of Education and allow us to subsidize college. Before we continue.
Yeah. Can I respond now, please?
We're gonna save that. We gotta wrap this up soon. So Robert, you wanna go real quick? Or
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's not much else to say. I don't support affirmative action. I believe we should. Students should have a fair chance of getting into any school they want to. We should not be doing it on a race-based manner. I support funding education programs in high school and middle school to push kids into careers right out of high school and to present new opportunities for getting out of high school and not just taking the college route. Expanding what has been done with the Evans administration legislation that he passed, and yeah, not much else to say. I know there's other people that want to
Communist
respond.
administration.
So.
All right, Jackson, you want to go real quick?
He's dead.
All right, Nathan, wrap it up.
Okay. So I just wanted to add on to what I said earlier, or add on to what Ivor said actually. He was talking about a fair education, and that is one thing that I plan on doing. Because let's be honest, Joe. Well,
sorry, I was muted. I was muted. I didn't get a chance to speak.
Okay, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So basically, what I was going to say was that while I am opposed to affirmative action in the most part, none of you really recognized what the positives have been. Students who started at a disadvantage need a boost, and this policy has made it happen. Generally speaking, those involved mostly minority students, usually coming from lower income families. They would have lesser opportunities to attend private schools, unlike white students. However, we should take note that sincere and hardworking minority students are every bit as capable as white students, but because of the disadvantages they experience, they were not having the same paper qualifications. Now, affirmative action makes sure that to even the playing field a bit for those students.
That's exactly why we need to improve our education.
Okay.
All right, Nathan, finish it up. Hurry up.
Okay, so what I was saying is that exactly what Ivor said. That is why we need to improve our education system. at the lower level, including middle school, because middle school should honestly get you ready for high school. And for someone who, believe it or not, just entered high school this year, it doesn't do quite that. So we need to really teach our children responsibility, and we need to also improve our education system with state-of-the-art technology, state-of-the-art equipment, and state-of-the-art teachers. Our teachers need to be well prepared to uh, deal with the challenge of the 21st century and all our problems and educating our students. And as I was saying earlier, Joe, who may be an African American kid, may not be the best student, but Jimmy, who's probably an Asian student, is one of the better students. And with affirmative action, Joe would probably get accepted into the university, and only based on the color of his skin. And that's basically an advantage for being black, because people look at institutionalized racism, which affirmative action is institutionalized uh, racism. And yeah, so as I mean, I see that Speaker Hitchcock in the chat is saying we've done education reform so many times. What I'm saying is that we need to improve our schools once and for all. You cannot go and say, "Oh, I've done this and I've voted for a bill during my time in the House that said improve education system." We need to go in depth, even more in depth. And you know, me hanging around Tim a little bit more, libertarian. I'm just saying that we need to, Great, I forgot what I was saying because I was distracted. Okay,
Are you
so
done?
to answer this,
Oh.
a final, my final thing, because I'm going to cover my hand over my phone so I don't see anything else. Throwing money at a failing system. How can we expect to fix what's broken? We can instead fix what's broken, than fix what ain't broken. Because we need to fix our broken education system, just like how we need to fix our broken infrastructure. So it's not throwing money at it as past administrations and Congresses have done. We need to actually go in depth, and I'll release all that later on. I'm so excited for it. I'm so excited to release it so I can finally start talking about it. But we need to actually, as Jackson said, stop throwing money. But my plan will not be throwing money. We will control where the money goes and what school gets the majority, and that's based not off of test scores. That is going to be based off of
School vouchers then.
that is going to be based
Schools.
off the actual structure of the school and how it's been built. So sorry to keep you all on this topic. I know the moderators wanted to move on, so let's go ahead and do it.
Actually, we're gonna end this quite soon, so we're just gonna finish this off with closing statements. Let's get. All right, so there's. All right, yeah, 1 minute for a closing statement. We're just gonna begin with you, Nathan. Just don't take 10 hours, Dan. That's the question.
All right, so thank God there's no question.
Quickly,
We're
Nathan.
definitely going forever. Huh?
Quick.
Okay. What'd you say, Tom?
Be quick with
No, just go.
Okay. So, all right, closing statement. America, I think I'm the best candidate up here to fill the office of president. I have a plan to fix not only climate change not only climate change, but to fix our criminal justice system and our education system, which my opponent thinks that we're going to be throwing money at those failing systems. And I honestly believe that we need to fix those systems because education is the key to success anywhere you go in any society. Any successful person that you see, most of them will have a very good education. Now, with that being said, do I believe that you have to have a college education to get by? Absolutely not. But in today's world, sadly, you do. We need to bring back those jobs, those high-paying jobs, those high-paying blue-collar jobs that so many people are relying on. So many people are losing those jobs by the day to other countries. And that's simply not fair. So we need to look at the problem And instead of throwing money at the system, as Mr. as my opponent says that I am doing, we need to actually take a look, a definite. We actually need to look at the system in depth and look what's fixed and look what's broken and fix it. We need to take action. We need to do it now. And I'm the candidate that will get on the case, that will go into action on day one. It's the second that I am inaugurated. So that's why I believe I'm the best candidate. I have the experience to lead this country in this time. And that's just about it. So live from New York, it's Saturday morning. Thank
All
you.
right, Jackson, hurry up. 1 minute.
Well, I'd just like to say, I think that was a little bit longer than a minute, but we're not opponents, Nathan. We're really working towards the same goals. So I'd say we're not adversaries, but we're really just those who are working towards the same goals, but in different ways.
Very true.
Now,
Yes.
now, your proposals to fix the criminal justice system, fix education, those have been done, but I'm really focusing on the transition between green energy and our current fossil fuel system. Now, I'm sure you'll talk about this sometime, but we really need to focus on the future. I know education's the future, but why not invest in CTE, which is career and technical education, or workforce readiness? You're the champion of the blue collar man. I understand this, of course, but automation's the future. Do you want to hold back our businessmen and women and put our people at a disadvantage in the next 40 years? Or do you want to jumpstart automation and put our people and our workers at an advantage for the next 100 years? Now, I want America to be the strongest for as long as possible. If it hurts us for a couple weeks or a couple months, then it's fine. But you have to think of the big picture. Our nation will succeed in the end. If we fail, we fail. Manufacturing is a failing industry. We've lost 8 million manufacturing jobs in the last 10 years. That's going to continue to happen, but we can slow it down if we support automation. Automation is the future. Free trade promotes growth and promotes wage growth. NAFTA created 23 million new jobs. I'm going to propose the biggest free trade agreement in the history of our nation, and we're going to continue to balance the budget, and we're going to continue to work towards a green future, which many of those blue collar jobs you're talking about will be brought back by the green energy revolution that we're talking about here.
Okay. All right. All right. We're gonna go with Igor.
All right. So.
Make it short.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Karan. Thank you, Epidali, for this quite interesting innovation in Mac. Thank you, everyone who attended this. Thank you, everyone who asked questions, who laid out their views. My goal was here to be fully open, fully transparent with the voters, with the candidates, as I was and as I am, and as I will hopefully continue to be. My closing statement is fairly simple. All I want to say is to all of you listening, to all of you who will listen later, to all of you who are here in this call right now, never, never give up, as Winston Churchill says, because success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. No election loss will be fatal, and no success is going to be final. We need to continue to push this country forward, united, no matter who wins what Senate race, and no matter who is in the White House, because the United States of America was founded on the premise of unity, freedom, and other things, but most notably unity, that we all don't just need to symbolize it, we all need to show with our work. In Mac, we showed it so many times, so let's continue to show it. Let's improve Mac, let's improve our stances and policies, and let's, for the final time tonight, say thank you. And well, that would be it. Thank you again.
All right, Robert.
I might have to
No,
go.
all right. Tim, go.
Okay. So sorry about that, Robert. So I just want to say thank you for having us. I'm thankful to PBN. Thank you to Epideli and everybody else that everybody else that Ivor mentioned. Because I'm too lazy to name them all. But anyway, so what I want to say as far as this election goes is first I want to give a quote. All mankind being all equal and independent, no one ought to harm another in his life, health, liberty, or possessions. That's from John Locke. And so what I believe these elections are about, they're about the future that we all are trying to work for. As it was mentioned before, none of us are really opponents. We're working towards a common goal, what we believe is a better version of the USA, a better version of the future. What I believe is best for the future is a future of liberty, a future where people are allowed to keep their own income, to marry whom they want, to, of course, if it's a consensual agreement. So, to
No rape kids.
private property rights, and I want to promote those things in the Senate, and I'm hoping I get elected. If I don't, then that's fine. But I that is what I stand on. My core principle is liberty, by and large, for every individual in America. Thank you.
All
Can I
right.
go next?
Yeah, Tom, go ahead.
All right. Well, first of all, as everyone else, thank Connor and Epideli for hosting this great event here. You've truly given us a chance, and the voters a chance, more importantly, to know fully and understand what they're voting for, who they're voting for, and why they're voting for it. I think that's crucial in a democracy like ours, and I thank you for giving us this pristine opportunity. Now, moving on. As Ivo said, success is contingent on failure, and the job that I've been doing while I've been in the Senate is making sure that we are learning from our mistakes in the past, learning from our failures, learning from what we have done wrong, and using this crucial knowledge to propel our way forward, to craft our new ideas, and to shape our future. Now, this idea doesn't just revolve around politics. This idea revolves around just the family dinner table. This idea of learning from your mistakes and that your success is contingent on your failures in the past. That's an idea that every American can share, and it's about time we learn to govern like that, because for so long now we continue to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. So let's take a leaf out of our citizens' book, and let's learn what we're doing wrong, and let's fix it. And that's something that I fought to do in the Senate. It's something I'll continue to do. So I ask for your vote, for your support, but more importantly, I ask for you to just vote and exercise your right, because that's what matters to us all the most. Thank you all once again, and good night. Oh, and live from New York, it's Saturday night.
It's Saturday night.
All right, Robert.
James.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm glad that we had this opportunity to have this discussion between all these different candidates, and I look forward to doing more of these in future elections. I'm running to be District 4 Senator because I believe I have the experience and the qualifications to serve in the Senate and actually get things done for our district. Our current senator has done nothing, absolutely nothing for our district, and that saddens me. We need to have strong, active leadership.
He's in the call.
We need to have strong, active
He
leadership
doesn't care.
that funds our programs. I was the one who passed the bill that fully funded the CTE program that they've been asking for 10 years. I want to continue to fund and expand these programs that help so many high school kids find new avenues in life and find different career paths. I want to fix and expand our infrastructure. We need to be investing in new technologies and investing in new infrastructure projects to not only create jobs, but to improve the quality of life in our district, and to improve the quality of our buildings, and to overall bring the nation and the district forward into the 21st century with infrastructure, education, criminal justice, and environmental reform. I believe we can get all these things. We can get all these things done with the right president and the right senator. And I think I'm the right senator, and I hope you choose the right president too. Thank you.
All right, that wraps it up. I just want to thank everyone for attending this slash debate town hall kind of ish. Um, yeah, I just want to thank everyone for watching PBN Meet the Candidates. Tomorrow, we will be, well, hopefully tomorrow, PBN will do their official kickoff. You can also watch Meet the Press at 7 or 8, I believe. But,
I'm Connor W. Grant, and you've just
no,
met the candidate.
on the 12th of April, PBN will also be doing live coverage over the presidential election season 22. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, and good night.
I have a quote that's good.
Still hate this music.